Hey guys, Yama Killer here, and we are here with a different type of video, a video that I've done in the past, and will now make a regular appearance on the channel once again, and this is the What Decks to Play series. Now this series is going to be going over the main constructed formats of Magic the Gathering Online. Sorry, no historic for those arena players, but we are going to be going over the six main formats: Standard, Pioneer, Modern, Legacy, Vintage, and Pauper. We're going to go over what decks I think I would play, what decks I think are reasonable in the format, and my choice of what I would play, as I already said. Now, I do not play all these formats very regularly. I do consume content of most of these formats at the very least, although some of this is second-hand knowledge rather than first-hand knowledge, as I am only one person and do not play Magic 10 to 12 hours a day. However, what may people think of me? I do usually only play and focus hard on one to two formats at a time, but still am involved in discussion of people who are in depth into other formats. So, with all that said, let us get into it. First of all, we're going to start with Standard, a format that I have not been in depth nearly at all, but I do keep track of tournament results, SCGs, PTQs, challenges, and the sorts, both on Twitter and talking with people who are in those events. And these are the decks that I've been told are reasonable in them. Now, first is a Jeskai Tempo combo-y deck. This basically uses a Goldspan Dragon plus mutate creatures to generate infinite mana slash value when need be, and basically is a tempo slash combo deck somewhat akin to Twin. So if you're playing this on Magic Online, you have to be very adept at doing the combo, doing things quickly, so you should definitely practice before you play this deck if you want to. But if you have practice, I think this is a very good strategy. Now, there's some other decks as well. Sultai Control did it very well. Sultai Ultimatum, as it is called. This card essentially lets you combo kill your opponent. Although, if you expect a lot of cheap counterspells, mystical disputes, or otherwise cards that can interact with you, this is not quite the deck you want to be playing. But if you expect creature matchups, I was told that this is very, very good in those. Now we've got a deck that I personally would play mainly because I don't know much about the format, although I'm not so sure how good it is. It usually puts up at least 1 to 2 good results every single weekend. Besides that is a little bit off the radar. But if you don't have any time to practice, you haven't really played Standard, Mono Red Aggro, usually not that bad of a choice. Let us move on to Pioneer. Pioneer, a format that I have not done much work on, and not many people have. And personally, I would go with Mono Red Burn again. It's a deck that I played in the past. I know other people played it and had reasonable results. But if we're talking about what the best deck in the format is, it is going to be Izzet Phoenix. Now, this is another deck that I've played a good chunk of, and I think is very, very good. It has reasonable tools to deal with everything. It has quick kills with Crackling Drake plus Arclight Phoenix, and go in the long game with Treasure Cruise. Now, if you wanted to relive the glory days, Blue-Eyed Phoenix for Modern, not quite as good as that deck, but when the cards line up correctly, you get to do some pretty broken things with this deck. Playing some new cards like Expressive Iteration that really allow you to gain even more card advantage, along with Treasure Cruise, Cracking Drake, and the such. Now, let us move on to the format that I know the most about, Modern. This is the deck that I'm personally going to be playing this weekend, the 4-color Crashing Footfalls deck, now with the new innovation of adding Fury instead of Subtlety. Gives you some more ways to kill your opponent's creatures, gives you a more good, fair game plan that allows you to sidestep some of the hate at times. This is the deck that got me my first trophy in the Modern Magic Online leagues, and I think it is very, very well positioned in the metagame. There are some other decks that I think you can play, like Izzet Tempo allows you to play Dragon Rage Channeler, Ragavan, incredibly good with Murktide Regent, lets you play a Xeroxy style, go through your deck very quickly. This deck recently won the Modern Super PTQ. I actually played against it in that PTQ, the winner, and got absolutely smacked by them. So I think this is a very good choice as well. And finally, if you're a man who wants to play some more aggressive shell, a more Luracy Urza Saga type deck, Hammer Time, very good, has turn 2 kills. It lets you play a long game with Urza Saga, and it has very, very good ways to beat the hate, Sometimes your opponent plays multiple hate cards and you can just sidestep it, play some weird, kind of mopey mid-range aggro deck with Urza Saga, and then eventually, after you've gone through all the hate, kill them with some Colossus Hammers. So basically, in Modern right now, I would be trying to play one of 4 different cards: Lyris of the Dream Den, Urza's Saga, Dragon Rage Channeler / Monkey, and finally some Cascade strategy. And if you can mix multiple of those into the same deck, like this, or Saga Luris, or something like Red Black Luris, where you get to play Dragon Rage Channeler plus Monkey and Luris, or something along these lines, some combo of these cards, is something that I highly suggest. Now let us move on to Legacy. Now this is the deck that I would be playing if I could. Now personally, I do not actually have enough rental amount to play this deck. Ragavan, Dragon Rage Channeler, Delver, Murktide Regent. You basically just get to play, Dreadhorde Arcanist was banned, but who needs that card when you got Modern Horizons 2 cards? We're going to play Ragavan, we're going to play Dragon Rage Channeler. We essentially don't have bad draw stuffs anymore in that. We've got Dragon Rage Channeler, and you get to play, a good Delver shell, killing your opponents quickly sometimes, or you get to play a long game with Expressive Duration. There are some other decks that do somewhat similar things. The Jeskai Standstill deck that allows you to play Urza Saga, plus Ragavan, plus Murktide Regent, and as well as, a Daze Force of Will type strategy. But if, you want to play something a little bit more control-y, once again, some more decks that I can't quite rent. But Uro, banned in many formats, still very, very good here. You got to play Uro, Endurance. Basically, the idea in most of these formats where you can play Modern Horizons 2 cards. Here we've got Endurance, Abundance, Harvest, as well as Prismatic Ending. In the other decks, you've got Dragon Rage Channeler and Monkey. And in some other decks, you've got Urza Saga. Try and play as many Modern Horizons 2 cards. They're pushed for a reason, and play the pushed cards if you really want to be winning. Finally, let us get into Vintage. Personally, I'm going to be playing Golo stacks. I don't have much experience with these new Modern Horizons decks. Vintage right now, this deck is fairly reasonable at, getting a Crucible of Worlds plus Strip Mine / Wasteland lock, as well as killing slowly with, Karn the Great Creator, Mycosymphlatus, Golos Tireless Pilgrim plus Caracas, as well as playing a Prison strategy with Sphere Resistances, Trinisphere, and the such. If you want to be playing a bit more mid-range, one of the premier mid-range decks right now is Sultai. Lets you play Leovold, Oko, Collector Oof, Endurance, Deathrite Shaman. A lot of these mid-rangey threats that were good in Legacy, basically porting over to Vintage and still being reasonable here. Lots of good answers to many different combo decks, to many different control decks, to many different mid-range decks, and graveyard decks, and the like. Now, finally, let us get into Pauper. Pauper is basically a 3-deck format right now. You've got Affinity, which is a artifact-based aggro deck that can kill fairly quickly with Atog plus Fling. You've got Black-Red, which is basically Storm, which is a deck that can kill as early as turn 1. Allows you to storm off with Chatterstorm plus First Day in Class to have a bunch of hasty squirrels to kill your opponent. And finally, Dimir Fairies. This is a Delver-based deck sometimes. Sometimes there's a Fairy-based deck with Fairy Miscreant, Fairy Seer. Using the power of Ninja, the deep hours to gain card advantage, having lots of counterspells and counterspell and spell stutter sprite, and a quick-ish kill at times with a quick Gurmag Angler. Basically, you get to play one of these 3 decks, and they're all reasonable against each other, and playing anything else is a fool's errand. So, that was a quick dive over all the 6 formats. Tell me if you guys like this series, if you want to see it back. And if there's anything I can change, anything you want me to go more in depth in, anything you want me to slow down, I try to get over all these somewhat quickly so you don't have to spend 15, 20, 30 minutes watching this video. I try to make it quick and watchable for you guys, and if you guys enjoyed the video at all, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitch and Twitter in the description below, and I'll try to make this on a weekly basis. Tell you guys what I think about each format in a succinct, quick manner and what decks that I would be playing. There won't be any deck lists in the bottom because it is kind of a pain to get all these deck lists back to put it all together. But besides that, I hope you guys have a good day, and I hope one of these decks allows you to get a good win or do well in a tournament over the weekend. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.